Hi, everyone. We're back with another Behind the Dice, and we have play tested Daggerheart. So, Daggerheart is from the folks that do Critical Role. It's one of their new game systems.
Darrington Press is their company. Yeah, their publisher.
Yep, which you can find over at darringtonpress.com. And there's also another link there for Daggerheart. So, we played Daggerheart, and we've actually play tested it with a couple different groups. And we're going to talk a little bit about our impressions of it, what we like, what we're not so sure about, all that good stuff. What version did we play, Greg?
1.5.
1.5. Okay. So keep that in mind in case it's changed at all later on, which I'm sure it will change.
I don't think it's going to be released anytime soon, but just in case.
Yeah. So they've finished the beta testing, I think, right? The public beta testing.
The next one is going to be the actual release, non-beta release.
All right, cool. All right. So where should we start?
I actually came into this. I've had very mixed opinions on this system, to be honest. I think it really depends on your players. If you have someone who is all rules light, never likes tactical stuff very much, and struggles with 5e, let's say, I don't think they're going to like this as much as other rules light systems, to be frank. I think they're going to prefer an actual full rules light system because it's simpler. It's what they're used to. This game definitely comes with some complication. Like they definitely add some mechanics, especially to taking damage, to each of your domain cards that have abilities. You basically have to read in full to figure out what it does because they're all very different from each other. It's definitely a like there's some rules lights are low knowledge games. You don't have to have much knowledge of the game to be able to be fine at it. This one's actually not that. It's kind of a high knowledge game. You actually do need to know your character and the abilities and stuff like that. But so this group, I think, was fine with it. Whereas the other group we played with, I think, struggled with it at points.
Yeah, I feel like we struggled more in the other group. Of course, this time we played it, I had experience from the other group, and the other group was the sample adventure, right? This was more
sample adventure,
playing around with a little bit more original storyline. And just to remind people too, like you can use Demiplane to create the characters,
which helps a lot.
Yeah, I have a love-hate thing with Demiplane in a way. I like it as long as you got a computer with you.
Yeah.
So like kind of like
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm kind of like I don't even know if you can export out a PDF or anything from it. I can't figure out if you can or not.
And if you don't have Demiplane, in my opinion, you have to get the cards. Because this game without the cards, without having the cards with each of your abilities written on them, will make this game very hard to keep track of stuff.
But 100% agree with that. Yes, yeah. The Nexus, Demiplane, whatever, however they want to brand it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The app is awesome. Playing online, it makes it super handy. They have the calculators, they have everything there. You can modify all of your stats, especially with the class I was playing, which is a druid, where my evasion changes depending on the form I'm in, and it adds to my, whatever stat that creature or beast is based on. So it makes it super handy. I'm not like playing this on pen and paper or pencil. I'd be erasing constantly. I would be wearing out erasers. But this app is awesome. I like everything about it. I'm gonna buy it for sure. I'm sold. But I usually am when it comes to RPGs. I can't remember the last time I played something that I didn't want to own.
He has a big cupboard of
yeah, I mean, I have stuff I never play. I really do. I'm a collector, so I guess you take that with a grain of salt when I say I'm gonna buy it. But I look forward to playing it.
So Pat,
I'm not just gonna buy it and put it on a shelf. I'm gonna play it.
This is actually all set up as an intervention. We're gonna
and to that point, I definitely think this is a good game for a lot of people. Patrick and your son also like it. I know your son likes it more than DC-20, which we'll talk about probably another video. But I don't know. Something about this game rubs me the wrong way, if I'm being honest. It's one thing that gets a little annoying to me, and it's a main mechanic, is the fear hope. Uh, it's so easy to forget about what you rolled, and I don't think that'll ever go away. It's not like one of those things where I think skill make it better. I think there'll always be a time because ultimately you roll the dice, and you want to know what happens, and once you start talking about what happens, you moved on. Whereas in this game, you roll the dice, you get the number, and then you have to do additional bookkeeping. I think it's,
To that
in my
point,
opinion, the biggest flaw of it.
it's almost like you need to use the app because it tracks your dice rolls. If you're not using the app, and like we would like this, the first session I think we for the most part we rolled in the app, and it
Yeah.
keeps track of those. Tonight, yes, you're absolutely right. Multiple times, crits not with there was a lot of crits.
Yeah, there was a lot of crits.
When you're not critting, yes, 100%. Multiple times you're like, oh crap, was that with fear or was that with hope?
Yeah.
And of course,
The app will make that easier.
drives
That's
a
true.
major mechanic, because that means, does the GM now get to act after that person acted? Because
Yeah.
if it was with fear, they do, and if it wasn't, they don't. So yeah, definitely. But yeah, again, if you're using the Nexus, whatever you want to call it, it keeps track of that for you, so it's less likely to forget
Yeah.
what you roll.
The other thing is, I don't know how to deal with, like, it works if you have a lot of enemies, but if you just have one big baddie, I'm not sure how to use up all the action tracker in that case. But I know one time when we played Patrick in real life, in IRL, remember that stupid Minotaur that it never got to go for a long time? I had so many actions stored up. I was maxed out on actions, and he was the only one left. So I'm just like, he goes and goes crazy.
Yeah.
But it
So
seemed ridiculous.
they have an optional tool if you want to have more of a turn-based initiative. I don't know if you've looked at that in the rules, but they have the action tracker, and then you can limit. They recommend starting with 3, but you can increase or decrease that at the table player, the number of actions they can have maximum.
Yeah, I saw that on the live stream. That's not.
Using
That doesn't give the enemy more though. That limits how many actions the players can take
right.
before letting another player go. It doesn't limit the GM in any way though. Like if you all use
But if
up
you
all
have a
3 of
crazy,
your
but if we have
actions,
crazy lucky, but I think by using that initiative though, is we're crazy lucky, and we have 4 players, and we've all taken 3 actions, and we've all rolled hope, and that's now 12 actions we've taken with hope.
Yeah,
It's to the point where it's like, okay, now it's time that you've all reached your maximum threshold of rolling with hope. I'm now going to crush
you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. And there's a couple times where I had enough fear stored up that I just used fear to go. Cause you can always spend 2 fear and go immediately. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely, it felt smooth. This last game we did was the first time I felt like this went smooth.
Yeah.
There wasn't any awkward looking things up. I had your guys' characters right here. And like I said, any ability, just have to look at the whole ability because they're all very different. But I had them all up right here and I could just read them quickly. And it actually did feel smooth to me. I didn't feel like there was long pauses anywhere, which was unlike the first couple times we played where it was like, what does this do? Let me go look. So that's good because other games I've played like Starfinder, it feels like every single freaking turn we're looking something up, and it happens every game. After 20 times playing that game, I'm still looking things up every time we play, and it just gets annoying. Whereas if it's a skill issue, eventually you stop looking things up, and I think that's what this one was for me. Was the first few sessions just felt like a drag because it was a skill issue, and then after I got used to it, it went smoother.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess should a role playing game or tabletop role playing game, should it be just as easy to play pen and paper versus computer, or does it matter anymore?
So I've played it on pen and paper, and when you're actually using tokens and you have cards, to Greg's point, like he actually printed out like our
printed them out and we cut them up.
And we cut them up, and I had my cards in front of me and I had tokens on them. Felt kind of cool because it's like, oh, how many I can use 2 tokens to amp up this spell if I want. and then I can get those back by taking stress. And so I'm not saying it's not super clunky. I think because of the class I was playing, where I'm constantly changing a stat and my evasion score, and that's fluctuating every time I go in and out of beast form, which I do a lot because it's fun. That's really the only reason why I think there's the big advantage of using the app. But playing pen and paper, you just draw a line through your evasion, and you'd have your permanent evasion score, and then you'd have your temporary evasion score, just like you play like when you're playing D&D. You have your max hit points and your temp hit points, and
I think the druid actually wouldn't be that bad on pen and paper either, because remember, if it's not digital, you don't have to update your character. You can just do it in your head, right? Like you can be like, oh, I'm this form, so I know I get +1, or even have them on a sheet or something, or even a card. I guess you could have a card for your.
That's
forms.
the thing you would have to have is you'd have to have a sheet of the beast forms that you have available to you, and you would just.
But I do like
sheet and
I do like the beast form in druid in this system. It might be one of my favorites is how they do beast form, because in 5e. Wild shape is just a hit point battery. you get slightly crippled because it feels like the beasts are unless you do some crazy things. The beasts are never as good as not being a beast.
It doesn't scale well,
but you get hit. Yeah, it doesn't scale well, but you just become bags of hit points. Is what your wild form becomes in. But that's how 5e always been. I'm not a big. It's my biggest gripe with 5e. You become big bags of hit points. And this system does not have that problem. It's your hit points do not scale.
Your thresholds stay the same for damage. What changes is you have the ability to bump up your evasion if you choose to go with that type of form.
Yeah, and you can pump up your thresholds, but you can't pump up your HP that much. It'll increase a little bit, but
yeah.
And you have so much more versatility. Like it's wide open. Like you can choose a pack predator, which is one that I haven't done yet, and you skin it however you want. It can be some obscure mystical creature, character. There's not a list of creatures you can choose from. You choose a type, beast form type.
Yeah.
It has 8 attribute that it's based, like it's attacks are based on. And then they have these really cool abilities, like you have advantages on certain things, like whether it be attacking or tracking or hiding or whatever. And then that when you guys watch this last session how he did super powerful pouncing predator turning into a jaguar and using the takedown ability, which you're marking stress, so you have a finite number of uses, obviously, but it was just
massive damage
proficiency. So you're, as a second level druid, you're doubling your damage dice if you successfully hit something with this attack.
That being said, though, the Bruce was doing massive damage as well. I mean, he could spend that 3 hope and get 3 extra d6 to his sneak attack, and 2d8 plus 4d6 at this point. And if he spends hope, he can do more d6s, and he was doing massive damage too.
So I guess it's a huge takeaway. Like the last one of these that we did on a different system is you feel super powerful at low levels in this system. Versus,
I've noticed that's true for most new systems coming out.
This is a big trend, yeah.
I'm curious what Chaz, like you had to deal with the armor system the most. So what did you think about
it? Was the only thing that it was really the only thing that saved me because or saved Jack because he can't ramp up his damage the way all these other people can. I mean, I got lucky. I got lucky with that one crit on the pirate. But if I hadn't, I'd have done so little damage to him that he would have been around for several more rounds, creating chaos and making things generally unpleasant.
But did you, like, in 5e, let's say you play a similar character in 5e, it'd probably be a paladin, right? It would be a similar character in 5e.
Yeah.
If someone goes and attacks the wizard, let's say, what abilities do you have to protect the wizard in 5e? Versus Daggerheart, do you actually feel like you're a real tank? Like you're actually...
Well, I definitely felt like I was a real tank tonight. But in 5e, you'd have, in order to be hit, you'd have to get like an 18 or better to hit at all. And so that's how you protect the wizard. And
but I was wondering what you thought about
your armor never really gets destroyed.
I was more thinking about what you thought about like the intercede ability, where you can actually jump in and take the hit and stuff like that. Which I don't know if 5e has that kind of thing. But
it does, because I thought it did.
I'm trying to think of an ability
when we were
5e
playing, not DC-20. What were we playing?
There's
we're
feats
playing Star Wars
that not
5e.
exactly allow you to
No,
take
it was
damage.
it was Tales of the Valiant, and we had to use the Sir Munchlot was a paladin, and we had to use the paladin abilities. And at second level, I got the guard ability. But is that not something that's in 5e?
No.
That's I guess another thing we can say that these new systems are coming out with is ways that other players can react to mitigate. Like D20 has it. I can,
DC-20.
They got more.
On someone else's turn to take the damage for them. You have the shield ability that's not just on yourself; it's a reaction you can put on others. So, I mean, I like where these new systems are going because they're introducing things like that. You feel super powerful at low levels, and if you want to be the party's protector, you can jump in and do so.
I mean, without Jack there,
that is definitely something that a paladin should have.
Yeah. Without Jack there, I'm pretty sure the wizard would have died and Agarcus would have died without the paladin there for sure. Agarcus might have had a bit more hit points left, but that was like 40 something damage coming into you at one point.
But not Bruce.
That Jack jumped in the way of. So
yeah, I mean, I made the comment in real time when he took all that damage. I'm like, he's doing his job. He's tanking.
It
feels like you're actually really proficient at doing your role.
That's why I'm okay with Jack's less damage.
Again, like with DC-20.
Yeah. So,
but again, the whole damage system is like DC-20, something that I think is overcomplicated. You're doing 40 damage, and then you have to go through all these silly little complications and go, oh, you take 1 hit point. No,
that's what I was wondering. What you
bring down
thought.
The damage for spells and weapons to match the players, or give the players more hit points. I'm not saying that they have to get to the point where they've got 2,000 hit points and you can basically go toe to toe with Godzilla. But make up your mind. Don't go through this whole unnecessary process of you got 40, you got this great amount of damage coming in, but it only does this much. If you're going to eliminate 20% of a character with an attack, then do that.
This damage mechanic in Daggerheart is why I don't call it rules light. It's like I know they're pulling things from rules light, but ultimately, it's still a strategic game, like 5e, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It goes back to the resource management. There's more resource management. You're not a bag of hit points and you're just subtracting them when you're hit. You're managing resources. You have armor slots. You have thresholds.
And there's a lot of resources in Daggerheart, by the way. You got stress, you got hope, you got armor slots, and then everyone usually has some other type of resource. Like Jack had the special D4s. Sorcerers get their own resources. Like all of them have their own on top of that as well. Mm-hmm. And then you have, not to mention action trackers and fear trackers. And it's just like, if I didn't have an abacus, this would have been a pain in the ass for me.
You have to. It's almost like you have to have that calculator. Someone else at the table needs to have the calculate damage calculator, where you can say, okay, it's a hit, and it takes into account what your minor, major, and severe thresholds are. You type the damage in the field, and then you start clicking that armor slot button until you reduce the hit points to the number of hit points you want to take. And I was doing that multiple times to say, like, oh my god, if I got hit for 28 points, I'd be using all of my armor to not take.
I think the damage mechanic is both the most interesting thing to me and also the most cumbersome thing to me. So it's like, I don't know, because it was interesting that
you get more proficient
tank all that.
The more you use it, you're going to get proficient at it. That's the thing, is it's going to not be so.
But the math is hard. Like adding is easy, subtracting is much harder.
It would boil down to.
Yeah, I think, because there's elements of
in 5e for me, for Jack to tank,
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead,
go.
Chaz.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, because you're all frozen on my screen, so I just
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I think there's a little bit of lag going on.
So in 5e for Jack the Tank, he would just have to have more hit points than everybody and armor so good that you couldn't hit him. And then
that would be the 5e way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
just wade right in.
Yeah, because I feel like some of these aspects to create the tank aspect of Chaz's character, you could do it more simply with elements we've already seen, like in other games, even with 5e, where I feel like it's kind of as complicated. It's not too complicated, but it is a little complicated. It is slow down to play a little bit. I think anything that requires, multiple steps when it comes to figuring out your damage is going to complicate things. So, and it's so counter like everything else they're doing. It's sort of like I wish they could just come up with a little bit more streamlined way to do that, and just have special abilities or something to mimic what you need for a tank like Chaz. I don't know.
Yeah. I do think it pulls you also out of the narrative a little bit, if I'm being honest, because you get hit, you're narrating this hit, and then you're like, stop everything. I'm doing armor slots.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, because like in PBTA, they keep it really simple, maybe too simple for some people, but you just get a certain box of hit points, you get the flat damage, there might be armor that negates a little bit of it, and that's it. And you keep moving on. It keeps it fast paced because of it. That might be too simple for some people, but I feel like this is the extreme, other version of that. And I feel like there's got to be something somewhere between that they could do, because it really needs to be. I mean, I feel like they're trying to be very narrative focused, and then that takes you out of it a little bit.
Right. That's why I say this is I still categorize as a strategic game or whatever you'd call those type of games, not a rules light game. The only rules light piece of it seems like, is in terms of actual mechanics, because obviously they can say be rules light where you have players narrate things, that's fine. But in terms of mechanics, the only thing that's rules light about it is there's no skills. Like everything else seems not rules light.
Yeah. I mean, like the ability scores and no skills, it's like straight up like PBTA, right? And even similar scale bonuses and negatives, I guess, too. And hope. I like that, like you said earlier, Greg. I like the hope, fear. I love and hate the hope, fear.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, but then it's like if you're doing it every time, and then if you forget,
I like that it's there. I hate tracking it.
Yeah, it's just all this stuff to track, right? And that's the Nexus or Demiplane or whatever makes it a lot easier. But if you're going to do it in pen and paper, you're going to have to buy a lot of stuff probably.
In pen and paper, you have tokens, which does help a lot, and that's what we used. Patrick and I used when we played in real life. I found like these little glass shards of crap that I have somewhere, and I just pulled them out and we use those.
Well, I'm sure they'll sell special Daggerheart tokens and stuff. So and they'll sell the cards and stuff. And
I have enough board games that you could just use games.
Yeah. It's like when we go to his house and we're playing D&D or whatever, we're playing Daggerheart, I think. It's like, well, let's open up Heroes Quest and take all the miniatures out for to be able to use them.
Well, we were using dice and dialing them down to keep track of things as well.
Oh, so yeah, dice,
rather than having to erase a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper.
And we did that for
you have 6 hit points, you use a D6, you wind it up and down.
Yeah, we did it for DC 22 for action tracking. You can use the board,
Yeah. But I think one of the big deciding factor probably will be what their setting is, besides just the game.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to use their wild mount setting or if they're going to come up with something new. I don't know. It seems like it's something new based on some of the information I have, because I pulled in some interesting, like they have realms, for instance. They have core realm, mortal realm. Sorry, these are core realms. They have the mortal realm. They have the hollows, the circles, which is like the elemental planes and stuff. And they have the realms beyond. I guess these are the realms beyond an elemental. Whatever. The point is, they seem to be coming up with their own mythology.
Is it related to Critical Role, or is it its own thing?
I don't think so. It doesn't look like it.
They have what's called environments. If you check that out, the
environments are cool. I didn't use them here because it was already at the end of this story. but they're pretty cool. They're basically, it's like if you're going through a swamp, they'll have a swamp environment, and they will give you ways to use fear to have things happen in the environment, and give you ways for people to roll things to deal with the environment and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a nice resource. You can go in, like, you sort it by tier, and if you have level 1 characters, and you're in a small town and there's a local tavern, it shows you like potential adversaries and the features of it, and like there's
Yeah.
different actions. Bar fight, spend fear to
Yeah.
the bar breaks out in a fight, and it has a little paragraph. It's got describing that
That's cool.
encounter.
Yeah, Fate has a lot of stuff with fate points. They're kind of like a GM can compel something like a drawback or a flaw or something, and reward you a fate point for the complication, but they can play with that stuff to create complications from your backstory or from the environment too. I think some rules are like that, so I wonder if that's where they got the idea from a little bit.
Yeah,
inspiration from.
They have a lot. I don't like this is why I don't call it rules light too, but their manuscript, and they've only kind of brought together bits and pieces of everything, right? And they're what they call their manuscript is 400 pages. There's a lot there. So, but they do have repetitive stuff. Like we were looking earlier, all their level up charts are the same for every class, it seems like, but they repeat it for every class for some reason. So they do have some repetition in there.
And they're making it easy so you don't have to look multiple places.
Yeah.
Go one place.
Well, Pat and I were discussing maybe they also plan to actually change the level up charts to be different for each class, like they do with Monster of the Week, for instance. But
yeah, we haven't seen that yet, but I mean,
there's
the potential for that, right?
Yeah.
Overall, I thought this last game went really smoothly. I didn't feel like we got hung up on how something works anywhere, which was nice. Even the armor slots didn't go too bad. It like I said, it pulls you out of the narrative. You talk about mechanics for a while, and then you go back into the narrative. That's the flaw of it, but it didn't seem too complicated, at least.
I don't think so. Games like Blades in the Dark, or I'm trying to think of that gun one, the action one that we played once.
Outgunned.
Yeah, Outgunned. See, those versions I think take me out of even more. They're kind of less complicated, but there's just so much, like almost like poker playing, trying to figure out where you move your chips and stuff.
I still don't understand it. I just know that you roll the dice and then somehow they match, and I'm like, okay, it tells me what the answer is.
Yeah, so in a way, this, at least with this particular last session we did, it ran smoother, I think, and was a less intrusive on the narrative than prior. So maybe with time it would
it could be a skill issue. And ultimately maybe it'll get to a place where you get hit and you deal with, and you'll be able to know when you get hit if you're in big trouble or not. And if you're not in big trouble, you just deal with the armor slots yourself and move on and let the rest of the game move on. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I do feel like, I mean, I'd be interested to try to play this pen and paper, because I feel like there's just so many little things that I have to keep track of. It'd be real easy. If I sneezed and knocked something over, I'd be like, I don't know what's happening now.
Yeah, the cat jumps up on the table.
No! We'll just say I have all the hope.
We have a cat jump on our table and become the dragon. Yeah.
Because you have to keep track of your hit points, your stress points,
I mean,
your hope. When
I dealt with it in Daggerheart, and I haven't been a player yet, which is maybe experience I should experience at some point, but like I'd probably just take a pencil and mark off the armor slots and then erase them when I'm done.
Yeah.
It's why some of my, like for our Call of Cthulhu one, my character sheet's almost like half gone because I've erased and written on it so much. Ugh, my nose comes stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff in it. It just, I don't know. But it's interesting as we play.
Like I said, part of it rubs me the wrong way for some reason, and I have trouble putting my finger on it. And it could just be I'm a D&D type person. I like those games more. I'm not as much a rules light person, and maybe that's just what it is. I don't know.
I mean, I like some rules light. I mean, I love Monster of the Week. So
we did play that a lot.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll play it again. Especially because I think whenever we go over to Patrick's, I think we had like a choice of DC 20 level. We're going to do a level 20 D&D campaign or Daggerheart, and most people wanted Daggerheart, so we did that.
How many levels is in Daggerheart? Is it 10 or are they still working on it? You have so many.
I forget. I think it's 10. Yeah, it's 10.
Yeah.
That's another trend I've noticed. Everybody keeps kind of lowering it down to 10 for some reason.
Yeah, that one off Daggerheart, we did it. They have in the manuscript a Mad Libs. If you know what Mad Libs are, they basically have like a little script that you can ask people to fill things in, and then you read it out, and that is the one shot that you do. And so
really cool.
that's how we built it. And yeah, we ended up going to the paper factory to take out the Goblin King of all his goblin workers. And it was David Bowie was the main bad guy, but that's the campaign we ended up doing.
It was the labyrinth. It was
Did he have his magic
the
ball?
bog and it smelled
yeah.
bad and all that. Yeah, it was the whole thing. I think you said, Greg, that you read somewhere that they actually want people to play test at higher levels. So they're not giving
they do
feedback at that. So, I mean, obviously, I'm on board with that.
5 to 8.
As powerful as I felt as a level 2 druid, I would love to play a level 8 one just for shits and giggles. That would be a lot.
It'd be interesting how it scales because you could, at let's say your level, I don't know, let's do just a bit like 6. You could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 proficiency at that point. And so you're rolling like 78 if your weapon's a D8.
Yeah, and then
it seems a little ridiculous.
Some of these beast forms at that high of a level, it's just
yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah, but don't the enemy like hit points and stuff scale up? I mean,
the hit points scale a little bit, or the hit points scale up a lot. Yeah,
and their thresholds, I'm sure, are much higher.
Those little bear zombies had around 11 hit points.
Yeah,
and
they
I've only got, what was it, 8?
Yeah, but the difference is they don't have armor slots. That's I'll say this is weird about the game. In most games, the enemy's mechanics are almost the same as the player's mechanics. Though maybe simplified, right? This game, the enemy's mechanics are very different from the player's mechanics. Players have evasion and armor. Enemies just have difficulty. You have to roll over. So if you roll over difficulty, you hit them. There's no armor slots, and they just have they're like bags of hit points. So an enemy might end up, I'm guessing at high levels, have like 40, maybe like 20 hit points, maybe 25 hit points. And it's going to be way more than players, but the difference is they don't have armor slots. And on top of that, they don't roll D12s. I roll D20s for enemies. So their attacks are way varied. There's 1 in 20 chance of every number, right? Whereas with you all, it's like a bell curve because of the 2D12 system. So it's definitely very different in the way they do that. Is the enemies are just very different than the players.
Well, I understand that doing the armor, all that stuff, because it's a lot of bookkeeping for each player.
Oh, I can't imagine. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah,
it'd be insane to do with all your enemies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder how that scales after a while. I guess it could be.
Enemies are just gonna have a lot more hit points. Like as you get to high levels, I'm guessing they're gonna be like double the hit points of players.
Yeah.
I just don't know why you want to do D20 versus the 12s. Their evasion scale to it though, right? Yes.
They want the players to be able to consistently hit effectively, whereas the enemies they want to be completely random. Is what they said. Because your average roll is probably going to hit something based on their number calculations.
Yeah.
So you get a more heroic feeling being able, that the bad guy went for you and missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it because in D&D, that's the problem, especially lower level. Your chances swing so dramatically. You can look like a heroic guy one moment and then a complete idiot the next.
Yeah,
that's
especially a sharpshooter.
Yeah, I'm hating that about a lot of systems where I've sort of designed a character to be good at something. No, he's an idiot.
Yeah. DC 20 and the system seem to try to be solving that in different ways, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, all right. So, anything else you want to talk about with Daggerheart before we start to wrap it up?
I like skills. I miss skills.
I like skills too. It's what I like about Call of Cthulhu. We have lots of skills, all the skills.
Yeah, well, you can't take it too far.
Okay, you can't take it too
that
far.
might be. Yeah. Watching your games, it might be a wee bit overdone.
Do I have it with me here? Because yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, here's my character sheet. These are all skills.
Yeah,
and they're not ones I wrote. It's canned skills.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I guess I'm more of a rules light person where you have your abilities and you describe what you want to do, and then it's up to the GM to say, okay, this is the ability score that should apply to that. I'm being sneaky. Use your finesse. I'm trying to recall something. Use your knowledge. I'm more of that.
But me. I just feel like a rogue should be able to be specialized in stealth or something like that, right? Whereas, say, a monk would be
your agility, and then have an experience that says, "I'm."
That's where it is.
And then you get a +3 on top of your agility.
That's what they're trying to do.
Just like you have stealth.
Yeah. I actually like the experiences. I think I like the experiences. It's difficult to make them in character creation sometimes. Some people struggle with it, but I think I like them.
You could be super generic. You can, just pick the 3 things you use most in 5e. If you're a rogue.
Yeah.
Pick locks, sleight of hand, stealth.
Yeah, stealth.
And you add your ability score. You add your bonuses on top of your agility, so you're always getting a +5 or more.
And I don't think that's
3 things you'd always be using.
Thinking about it, it's very because of watching Critical Role, they all had fancy experiences that were nice phrases. I think maybe that's a bit overblown. You could just. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying you're stealthy.
Yeah.
Because it's part of your class.
And you can get creative with it if you want. I mean, again, to quote that Adam Sandler movie, "I'm very, very sneaky." That's that quote.
Yeah.
That concept is from, for sure, well, at least where I've seen it from is from Fate, because they have things where you have these aspects and you have high concept and other aspects where you're encouraged to make up, names like that and stuff. Now the mechanic works a little different, but
it was supposedly a controversy at first because people were saying they stole the system from this other system, and then the makers of all the systems came out and said, no, this is what you do in this space. You take what you like from each system that you play. Your own system. That's what you do.
Oh yeah, and PBTA, Blades in Dark, Fate, and stuff. They're very much experiment and do stuff. With our rules.
Yep.
One just tiny little niggle I have with the
niggle
niggle NIGGLE that I sort of have with these with the rules light narrative games is that they all want you to have established backstories with the other characters, and it's kind of like, no, let me play that out with let our characters become friends. Let me become friends with my real players, by having these experiences, so that way, now, Jack tonight picked up another little buddy. I'm sure if we play this again, when I go wading into battle, I'm going to have a Garcus on my back and I'll probably have Char up on my shoulder. I really will be like a Gundam. I'll be going in there and they'll be able to be launching spells and missiles and things like that. And it'll just be like, whoa.
Or Power Ranger.
But, well, he's not that small.
True.
But, Bruce. But, we spent time figuring out our relationships. Let's play those out,
Yeah, I really like how you build a world together, because to me that's probably more important than establishing.
Well, that's different. That's a little bit different.
That is different.
The character.
Yeah, but I was going to say it can lead in better into the backstories, because if you build your own world out, you don't need to have relations to each other now. Instead, you can have relations to the world. Be like, oh, that's where I'm from. That's what I'm going to be involved in that or something like that. And so I like the world building more than I like building relationships. Even when we play in person, Pat and I with other people, we usually only go around like once on the building relationships. You don't do like the 3 times like you're supposed to. We just kind of do it once and move
Yeah,
on.
but no matter what system we're playing, we do that. I mean, I usually am kind of a motivator in that area. I'll choose someone else's character and whatever information I have about them at the table, and I'll be like, I think our characters will get along. You know how we know each other? And then I'll just go into this rant about how I think they know each other. And then I leave it up to that person to say, oh, I like that idea, or I don't. And then they put their own little twist on it or add their own flavor to that little backstory, just so that there's some connection going in, because everyone's played a game where it's like 4 adventurers meet in a tavern.
Yeah.
And like describe yourself, and I kind of I like to go that at least one, not necessarily 3 steps further, but at least one step further. Like how we know each other. Have we interacted at some point together, or we literally just saw, like The Witcher, there's the posting, and we just all came for the loot.
I think it worked out well here because we built the world together. You made like the woods, that area, and then you all picked your what is it called, ancestry, and you were both wildborn, and so it just kind of worked out that you two.
Forest.
Right.
So
like that I think works much better than trying to force relationships. Is build the world first and see where people land, type thing.
Yeah, basically all D&D is sort of like the Hanover movie. Like you just you meet up with strangers at a bar, get drunk, you go out on some weird adventure. Some people die, and you steal a bunch of stuff.
Dude, he died.
No.
And maybe get a face tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. Some dude gets locked on the roof the entire session, and you're like, "Where is he?
Where is that guy? I don't know."
Yeah.
No. I
or
totally
you just
agree with that, Marxist. That's how I feel a lot of times. So I make it a point going into, even if it's a one shot, like the one that we did most recently, Greg. Like, my good buddy at the table. I'm like, I knew he was going to agree with me, so I'm like, this is how we know each other. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And then we worked it into the mechanics of our role playing throughout the entire session. It was effective. Our relationship was we were super effective. Completely rolled our characters without any knowledge of what the other person was rolling, and then we're just whoa, we actually work really well together as a team, because we just we spent 5 minutes talking about how we've known each other for a week while we're traveling through the desert.
And then because of that, we kind of we narrated how the other characters eventually met up as part of just the first session. It wasn't like backstories. It was just oh, while you're doing that, you would have ran into me where I was doing whatever, But and that worked out. The other one, the way to do it, which is it's not DC 20's way, but it's just what he picked up and uses, which is at session 0, or maybe just the first session, you have everyone roll a fate die. Whoever rolls the lowest screwed up the last mission somehow. Whoever rolled the highest saved the last mission somehow, and then you just build kind of a relationship from that simple, thought experiment. But that works too. But for long campaigns, I don't think people need to know each other. It's for one shots, it's good that you build these relationships. But for long campaigns, I don't think it's necessary, especially if you're going to actually introduce, especially if your character has secrets,
Yeah, or you can have a few characters know each other, a few different groups of characters know each other.
Well, that's what Pat always does. He always, even on long campaigns, he'll find someone to partner with.
Yeah.
I usually have a turret. I usually have someone who carries me, throws me.
You don't need to do this, all right? Just move on.
I know. I don't know. I have this riding on people's backs fetish. I don't know what it is.
Awkward.
I'm almost always a halfling or some little tiny
That's true.
person who's on someone else, whether it be
you're always a little shyster too,
or the giant or the Sometimes sometimes I do it honestly, and I'm very upfront about the relationship, and other times I suggest that they are my mount, and if they don't roll high enough on their DC save, they're not my mount.
I forgot you did that. Yeah, you cast suggestion on someone.
I literally suggested your wife's barbarian.
Oh, that's right.
Believing that I was her precious little baby doll. and she would like throw down her life for me, and I made that suggestion, and she failed to save, and I was her precious, and she literally laid her life down for my character. Yeah.
Yep. Was that last game? I don't know. We shouldn't talk about our personal games and take up the whole video.
Yeah, but I mean,
People can't watch them. They're like, oh man, I want to see that.
Yeah, we never record them. Probably because it's too much drinking.
yeah, there's a lot of things that I would not say we want to have on
Yeah.
internet.
Usually for my
We need a
wife.
special drinking genre play. That's what we need to do.
Oh God.
Yeah, we get a little graphic in our late nights playing after we've been playing for 6 hours and we've had an entire bottle of whiskey
And loud.
or more.
I'm surprised we don't have the police called or something sometimes.
Yeah, it's fun.
But anywho.
So we're gonna do this at higher levels. You just don't know when.
We'll have to try it
Right.
at a higher level.
Yeah. And Pat's gonna DM it.
I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, especially after seeing like they've really fleshed out this a lot more than the last time I was in here. All of the
yeah,
different,
1.5 added a bit.
Yeah, I mean, all the baddies and the environments and all that. I mean, it makes it super simple to just hop into. I don't know.
Well, the nice thing if Pat does it, I can literally just send him my abacus, like hand it to him, and then he can have that for calculations.
Yeah, I've got, like I said, I've got a lot of board games.
Oh, that's true.
I have a ton of dice and little
all the
miniatures
tokens
and things that I can use to count. All that good stuff. Yeah.
Take out Warhammer figurines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll have to check out Daggerheart at higher levels later. So far, we have mixed feelings, or Greg's kind of like.
I'm more mixed than you are, but I think Chaz is the most mixed, and then me, and then you two.
We need to do a rating system, right?
That's
what we
true.
need to
Maybe.
do you give it 2 thumbs or this or this? What do you give it?
I'm very this with it.
You're very that?
Yeah.
How about you, Chaz? What do you give it for doing thumbs?
Well, I'm gonna give it 3.5 battle axes.
Out of how many battle
Out of
axes?
5?
5 out of 5.
5.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Actually,
That's
5's
the typical
easier.
thing, is like, 5 stars. I'll give it 3.5. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm thumbs up on it. I definitely want to play it some more. I can see where Greg has like he's not, he's like this because he's ran the game enough now to where he knows like it can be as a GM. I think it's a lot easier as a player when you're just like, oh, I only keep track of my stuff.
Yeah.
When you're keeping track of all the stuff and you're trying to remind people, oh, but like you actually caught something that I wasn't really paying attention to on my stuff in the session we just wrapped up, and you're like, oh, by the way, did you see that actually affects multiple people, not just one person? I'm like, oh crap, that makes it even more awesome. Thanks for actually reading it as well, Mr. GM, doing my job for me, the player who's supposed to know his own stuff. And
Well, that's the problem with Daggerheart. Yeah, that's my main problem is you have to read through everything. It's not intuitive, really. Everything works a little different.
But you have the card in front of you, and just did you read the whole card? Like that's your job as a GM, right? Like just remind them, read the whole card, and then tell me what you do. Describe to me in some fantastical way what that, that.
I think I'm at 3.5 as well with Chaz, actually.
Yeah.
I'll
give it a solid 4. Solid 4.
Yeah.
How about that?
4 out of 5. I'll do 3.5 also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because
okay.
Well, because of all the stuff we said.
Well, since everyone's here is the same, and we didn't do it for DC 20, like DC 20 for me, I actually like a little bit better, and I would give that a 4.5 out of 5 actually, because it's probably my favorite system coming out. But I know you guys don't agree with that. So.
I haven't played it enough.
Wow.
I've of the 2 systems, I've played this way more. So I mean, from my limited experience with D20,
just did the one shot.
I'm on par with the 4 on that one.
Yeah.
I definitely would look forward to playing that one again. I have,
it's only level 1 to 2. That's the problem.
Yeah. That's a bad thing with these playtest games. It's still very
well,
fluid.
Daggerheart's at least up to level 10. They actually do have it built out. Though
Yeah.
enemies they have a general scaling thing for enemies, but they don't have many high level enemies.
But how often do you play level 10 in any role playing game?
Yeah.
How often do you play beyond like 7th level? In
D&D Beyond says on average most campaigns stop around 7th level.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
I've gotten up usually like 12, 13, 14. It's about the highest I usually get in D&D. Yeah, I give if we're gonna rate DC 20 because we didn't do it last time. I would probably give it like a 4 or so. I think it's a little bit. I'm more comfortable with it because of 5e experience and Tales of the Valiant than this game, but yet, yeah, it's just more comfortable. So, because I feel like if I want a rules of light experience, I feel like there's other PPTA games that maybe give me more of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, this is trying to be both.
Yeah. We should do one of these where we just go down the list of all of the RPGs we've played. We like create a list that we've all obviously
a tier list. We could do a tier list.
Yeah, we should do a tier list. It's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. I know where. I know where. What is it?
Starfinder. Yeah, it's not my favorite.
Yeah. It's gonna be high up there, right? Yeah.
I like Pathfinder more than Starfinder. So.
Or Starfinder.
Even though I like the world of Starfinder way more than Pathfinder, I like the mechanic wise.
But I mean, like Greg and I have played in person some obscure stuff. Like we played
the Avatar one.
the Blade Runner one.
The Blade Runner.
We played Altered Carbon.
Oh, really?
We played some, which I have. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of a collector when it comes.
Yeah, he collects the Avatar one too. I forget what it was.
I've had to cut back. Yeah, I own all of the Avatar stuff that came out. Not too long ago.
I have Avatar, but I haven't played it.
But what about Chaz? What do you think about I think you're probably the one who likes it the least, to be honest.
Likes
DC 20
the least?
Oh no, DC 20 the least. Between us.
Honestly, I can't say. I've played we played one session or one and a half.
Let's put it this way.
I can't say really.
You're not sure.
If I said this weekend we were going to,
I can say that I had fun and. You know, when we did Behind the Dice for DC 20, I made some very similar comments about the damage allocation system being wonky and overcomplicated. It also, gives you this feeling of, lots of power at low levels.
Yeah. Same as Daggerheart. Yeah.
Which that is kind of good. Gets you in there, and if you once you're successful at low levels, then you're really ready to go rah.
You feel your class for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it safe to say what our group will be doing next, as far as system? Or should we not? Should we save that for another conversation?
I don't care.
I mean, for Behind the Dice, or just playing, or
what we were talking about before stream of this last session with what I'm doing.
You can. It's going to be delayed before people see it, though. But
yeah, it's going to be very delayed.
That was going to be like the question I posed for Chaz was like, between these two systems, DC 20 and Daggerheart, which would you want to play next?
Well, probably Daggerheart, because I have a little bit more invested in the character of Jack than I do in Gandolfini.
So keep playing Jack, so that's.
But it's not mechanic related. It's character related, like the story. Yeah.
I feel the same way about Garcus. I'll be honest with you. I've played a version of the same character in 2 other systems. He was a monk. He was a monk in 5e, and
monk.
Yeah,
he was a spore monk. Yeah. And then what was the other one that I played him in?
In DC 20, you played. Oh no, you didn't. Never mind. That was someone else.
No, I played the cleric in DC 20. So I played the same character, but different class, completely different play. But yeah, I get attached to a character concept, and I want to keep playing them.
I'm good with whatever you do next. I guess we can discuss it probably off this.
We'll discuss it off air because it's going to be, because we, just so you guys know, we record our genre play gaming way in advance, and it takes a while to go through them all. So
we will be playing either DC 20 or Daggerheart again.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the future, yes.
We shall. Indeed. So I will say that, that you mentioned that, I do feel like in Daggerheart versus DC-20, I do feel like I'm closer to, in a way, to Bruce than I am to my other character.
I don't remember your character.
He's I forgot what his name is, but he's like
the Spellblade.
He's like a Thor. He's a Spellblade. He's
Oh,
like,
that's right. He was.
His name is Tom.
Yeah,
That's
Tom.
right. Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, not Tom. What are you doing?
Oh, it is
But
Tom.
I think that was also because that was a one shot
With this lightning
of silly
hammer.
characters.
Yeah.
And whereas this was an actual like campaign that we created together, and it's like semi-serious, and stuff like that. So it's real characters here versus.
I don't know how
main
serious I
characters
was
there.
creating Bruce originally. But
That's valid.
but
I was
his,
totally serious with my burned out, tripping on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Druid. I mean, totally.
But it's still more serious than your cleric who goes Haktua.
Oh my gosh, I would love to play her again for her venom spit with the Haktuas. So much fun. So much fun.
oh. All right, but I do have to say that the Daggerheart, with what few things you do get, does make it very personable. Like lots of flavor to it, I guess. Like you have a lot of flexibility in how you describe your stuff, and that's where a rules light aspect comes into play, or it does help add a little extra flair or whatever you want to call it to your characters.
And to be fair, you can do that in any system, but it's encouraged in this one.
Yeah, it's encouraged. So that's a good thing for it too. So, but I do feel like DC-20, just because of 5e experience and everything, it feels more natural to me, a little bit easier learning curve, and I like those darn skills to a point. I feel like it's a way to customize stuff, a little bit. But.
So
And as we
totally
found after our second session, sorry to interrupt you, but as we found after our second session the last time, is we got a lot more better. We got a lot better at the action like
action economy. Yeah.
action economy. Exactly. We got a lot. I know now what I do as a character,
because you guys got to play it once, but Pat played it. That was his second time playing it, so he was able to like move past a bit more with getting used to it. But I will say about DC-20, the skills thing, I was, for no reason, I may have been trying to upgrade it to be a sci-fi setting, and and I noticed incredibly with the way he did skills, all the skills still pertain to the sci-fi setting, and I don't have to add any, because everything that you would have in a sci-fi setting, like piloting the ship or being an engineer,
so
those
unlike
are all professions.
StarCraft.
Yeah, definitely not like StarCraft.
Starfinder. Yeah, unlike Starfinder, they didn't have to write a complete new rule set, right?
Right. It's the professions take care of all those extra things, and so you literally don't have to change the character sheet from.
Well, to defend Starfinder, second edition is lining up with Pathfinder second edition. They're making them the same system.
So it might be better, and maybe they'll realize the problem too.
Laser.
And I still don't know how Solarians work, so get off my back. Anyone watching? I'm joking.
All right, well, we better wrap it up. We've been talking a while. Thanks, everybody, for listening here. Remember, capitcrossing.com. You can find everything in here at this YouTube channel. We got all sorts of actual plays with GENREPLAY and other content, too. Let us know what you thought about this system in the comments.
Leave a comment. Bing.
And if you like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any other Behind the Dice or our actual plays. And let us know what kind of games we should check out too, and what we should talk about in future Behind the Dice. All right. Well, thanks everybody, and until next time.
Bye.
A reservoir.
Oh.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky, but when they crash, it's a belly laugh. Genre play lighting the way. Our tales are